Well, good day, everybody, and welcome to the memory edition of 5-Minute Psych. In this 5-minute segment, we'll ask the question, what is memory? Beginning with 3 processes involved in memory before looking at the Atkinson-Shiffrin model of memory. Finally, we'll consider modifications to the Atkinson-Shiffrin model and discuss how we think about memory today. Memory can be thought of as cognitive processes that allow us to store and later retrieve knowledge and experiences, and it involves 3 basic processes: encoding, storage, and retrieval. Encoding involves getting information into memory, and this begins with sensation and perception, where the information is translated into a neural code that your brain can process. Storage involves maintaining that information in some way over time, so that if you need it in the future, you have access to it or can retrieve it, getting it out of storage. Memory models have made efforts to incorporate these basic processes, and the earliest and most influential is the Atkinson-Shiffrin model. The Atkinson-Shiffrin model is a modal model, or a box model, where memory is thought of as having 3 separate and independent cognitive boxes, or memory stores, that interact to process information as it flows from one memory store to the next. Here's an overview of the model with the 3 memory stores: sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. These separate stores don't correspond to specific brain structures, but instead think of the different functions of memory, given that we have to encode, store, and retrieve information. Now let's look at each memory store in more detail. The first stop after the sense organs transduce the physical stimulus into a neural code is sensory memory. Sensory memory briefly holds arguably an exact copy of the external source, but it disappears very quickly. For visual stimuli, sensory memory is called iconic memory, and it lasts less than a second. For auditory stimuli, it's called echoic memory, and it lasts as long as 5 seconds. Sensory memory is our initial filter for what we should attend to in our sensory world, and information that we pay attention to is sent on to short-term memory. Short-term memory is really whatever you're currently thinking about or working on, and although we'd like to think that we can multitask and hold many pieces of information in our head at once, we can't. We're terrible at it, in fact, being able to hold on to only 5 to 9 items. Also, information is rapidly lost from short-term memory unless we do something with it, like rehearse it or process it further. With that, information is sent on to long-term memory. Long-term memory is our library of durable stored memories. The capacity is arguably unlimited, and it's possible to hold on to memories for a lifetime. When we remember something, we bring it out from long-term memory and put it in short-term memory as we're thinking of it. Some modifications have since been made to the Atkinson-Shiffrin model. First, short-term memory is now thought of as working memory because this memory store is actively involved in processing information or working it. Moreover, working memory can be subdivided into different stores that specialize in different types of information. A phonological store would work on auditory input, like rehearsing a poem, and a visuospatial sketchpad would process visuospatial input, like if you had to imagine how many windows are in your house. Finally, there's a central executive that's like the manager of the stores, and it would exchange information between different stores and prioritize information when you had to consider multiple factors. The Atkinson-Shiffrin model makes it seem like long-term memory is just one thing, but modern psychologists think of different types of long-term memory systems that can be subdivided according to whether they are conscious of the memory or not. Non-declarative memory, also known as implicit memory, includes information that we learned automatically, like with taste aversions, and actions that we can do without knowing how, like knowing how to ride a bike. Declarative memory, or explicit memory, consists of knowledge that we consciously know and can recall, like with episodic memories, or personal memories, and semantic memories, or memories for factual knowledge. Declarative memories are acquired through effortful processing and certainly not automatically. Well, we just answered the question of what is memory by looking at 3 processes involved in memory before exploring the Atkinson-Shiffrin model of memory. Then we ended with a look at some modifications to the model. Now, aren't you glad you had 5 minutes?